guys? What a blessing. The pod is back in session. Welcome to another episode of the Supreme Court, a basketball podcast where we discuss all things basketball life and anything else we see fit. I serve as one of the three who keeps this thing running. I'm Chris. I got my brothers with me.
And I'm Henri. I'm sure y'all know that by now, or at least I hope y'all do.
Right.
And you know this is Big Bear. What's going on with y'all?
Nothing, man. Another week, another pod. How's everything going? Anything good happen since we last talked?
Nah, just like I said, coming back from Vegas over, I wouldn't say over the weekend, but we got home by the weekend. That was about it, man. Only thing new with the fam, like I said, letting the kids see the sights and the sounds of the city one of the cities that never sleep in this country. That was about it for me, man.
You sound Vegas wasn't it, huh?
Well, again, like I tell people all the time, I don't want to speak disparagingly of the city because there's nothing wrong with Vegas at all. It's just not my vibe. Yeah. And my kids didn't really enjoy it. Again, if you ain't there for the debauchery, you ain't there for the hedonism, you ain't there for what Vegas is for. It's an adult playground. Like there's no way. I was telling a guy that worked there who was born in California, like most people in Vegas, because it is kind of a transplant city, right? There was a time I remember going to Vegas back in the early 2000s, and most of the license plate would be California license plates. Now those same Californians have just full-fledged moved to Nevada, like all together. And you don't see as many California plates as you once did. But he was telling me he used to enjoy coming out, him and his father, and enjoying the Vegas nightlife. But he was like, it started to get crazy in the last 10 years or so. Them just charging you for any and everything, like the parking being $20, $25 to park at any resort or a casino. And it was like, I'm coming here to spend money. You can't even validate me? Like, come on,
man. Who would have ever thought you would pay for parking?
For parking.
In Vegas, of all places.
Yeah. It's insane.
What must those numbers look like? The number of people you got coming through there at $25 a pop. It might rival hotel fees for some of these smaller hotels.
Perhaps that's how they recoup and offset the cost of business being lost. That's got to be what it is, because just for parking, and the lots are pretty full. So people paying $20, $25 a pop to park.
Still coming. Like, you really don't have a choice.
Dude, it's
no
insane,
way.
Man.
And like I say, I'm sorry.
And like I say, we were talking about like Vegas trying to clean its reputation up and be more family friendly and more inclusive. But it's just you can't outrun that past, man. Vegas is what it is, and it will be what it'll be. It's just
not with them.
You can't write a new script for that place.
Not with them prices. Not where when you get to naked. No.
Yeah, you're right, Bear. Even with like the family friendly stuff, I remember one time we took the kids and we were walking somewhere, and it's a dude handing out cards. Like, here you go, and I was like, bro, this is a child. What are you about to do?
These are children. What are you
about to
doing?
Hand this to a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old? You tripping. What were you about to say, Bear?
No, I mean, that's going to deter some of us because I think that means that it's official that Las Vegas has officially gotten away from like getting some of the benefits of it. Like when you think about food, when you think about, like I said, just to pull up to a hotel and go to another casino so you can go and play after there's a $25 minimum fee. Like that'll stop me from going, that's one of the things, because you figure the parking is free. Right. You're going to spend all this money, and now they're nickel and diming. I don't know if that's because they're paying for those stadiums. There's a lot of stuff going on. So now they have to find other ways to get, to try to generate some revenue. I don't know, but there's no way. That used to be the budget town where you're going to have fun on the low dial.
That's my point, right?
Not anymore. Not anymore. Not the food, they're going to get rid of all the smaller hotels. But I guess you figure all the sports, you got baseball out there, you got hockey.
They've become LA.
Yeah. Well,
that's the difference.
Just wait until basketball, because that's coming too. Just wait until basketball hits.
And you know what's crazy when you say that? I didn't even consider that. I forget the last time I'd been to Vegas might have been like 2013 or something like. It was well over 10 years ago.
Didn't have anything.
They didn't have any. They didn't have any franchises. Now they've become a full-fledged major league scene. Like they got everything but a basketball team. Oh, they have women's basketball, and let's not discount that, because they've actually been quite a draw.
Because the Aces have been balling.
Oh yeah, they've been balling. But I mean, if you got the Golden Knights, you got the Raiders. Vegas is done to the Bay Area what the Bay Area once did to Philly and taking all their teams back in the '60s. But
crazy,
now,
huh? It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. Like, and again, they'll have the A's coming soon. I don't know where they're playing interim, but there was that, and we were discussing that too. Like it for Vegas now be a major town and major league, like a major sports franchise type of town. You would think there would be more stuff for family. That you would think that would kind of draw people out to move there. And it has. But again, you know, I loved it the first time going there because it was back when I went there last. I was still, you know, I was drinking. I wouldn't say heavily, but I was, you know, I don't drink anymore at all. But back then, when I was going in and we go walk into a circus and you get like a beer for like $1.25, and I'm like getting 3 and 4 beers at a time walking around the strip, it was like the flyest shit in the world. Like, this is cool. Like, damn, like this is really a playground.
Yeah, because if you went to a Laker game, it'd be the price of 8-9 beers, you know
easily.
what I mean?
But now it's like I don't drink anymore, so I don't have that going for me. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm not about to sit by a slot machine, have them bringing me drinks all day while I blow hundreds and thousands of dollars sitting there doing nothing. Like, it ain't even got that going again. I'm not gambling. If I do, I might play $20-$25. Max, I might play 50.
They're trying to change. Right, but that lure that Vegas had, the budget town, you go out, if you make it out there, the rest will take care of itself type deal. Like, it's, you know, that was the idea of it, you know, and try to make it family friendly because they're trying to obviously bring new people into the fold, you know, we're talking about the homes and everything out there. It's, you know, I don't know if it's even feasible, like what the cost of living even out there, you know, every time you go to Vegas, it's like one more added thing they're adding on. Like you could see, and I guess that comes with big city growth. You know,
they are a fledgling city.
You just have to accept it. Yeah.
They're fledgling. Again, it's a major league town now.
Is like, if you're moving out there, what you're getting is sort of what you look like even here. We're based in California, you know, spread out a little bit, but it's the same thing you're getting here now. When you used to move to the IE 20 years ago, you were getting a dirt cheap home and you were getting a ton of land and you were getting, you know, all the amenities, all the space and everything. What you're getting now is you're getting a larger house, but you're going to pay $700,000-$800,000 for a house now in Riverside and Corona, in some of these places where before it was like, that's $350.
And don't forget,
and that was the appeal.
It really is.
Now you're literally paying for more of what you want, but what you're giving up is distance because most people are still commuting.
Yeah,
going down that 91, which is a nightmare.
I don't care what time
I think Vegas is kind of getting in that same lane. My first trip to Vegas was when I was 12, and it was for a family reunion. I'll never forget it. We stayed at Circus, and I remember hot dog, 50 cents, hot dog and a drink $1. It was like Costco prices for food, steak and eggs, $9.99, full on dinner. And I'm like, I remember looking up and asking my dad, like, how is this possible? Because to me, I'm like, what's wrong with this food? And he's like, that's not the point. The point is to get these parents to gamble. So if you're putting money into food, you're not putting it into the machines. You can come here, try and win it big, and eat like a king for a minimal price. So even if you, like you said, hey, I'm throwing $25 in, you got a good, legit steak, high quality dinner for a fraction of the cost of a McDonald's meal back in the day. Yeah. Like, oh, this place is cool. You can walk around. There was always something to do. We stayed at Circus. I'll never forget. We had money coming. We had a kids' room. We had money coming from all angles. And that's when I was like, Vegas is the place to be.
Yeah.
Because at that point in time, even as a small child, I understood like, hey, we can go upstairs. I got an acrobatic, I got people swinging around in the middle of an arcade. This is a magic place. And I think we grew up with some of that nostalgia and love for what it was. But as you continue to move down the line, it's like, hey, you going to Vegas. I hear people talking about like, hey, room rates ain't that bad. It's only $300 a night. What?
Only? What we talking?
Yeah, I'm like, that's how we've been conditioned to wear for a weekend.
Yeah.
I'm like, $300 a night, and it's like, for a weekend, that's not too bad. And
that's a bargain.
Like, then it won't be a weekend.
Yeah, we got about for 2 days, about $500 we paid, and at a decent hotel at the Sahara. It was like, again, it was on the strip, but away from the main action. But still on the strip, still a nice little resort. They renovated it. It's really nice. You stay at I want to say the Blanca Tower or even the Mara Tower, but it was really nice, beautiful rooms, great amenities. But again, it's just like
that's good to know.
If you don't stay on the resort itself, it starts to add up. But the only problem with that place is I didn't like any of the food options. Like their dining options weren't what none of us were really into. So that was you got to leave but luckily again, I will say that was one of the few resorts that does offer free valet. So that was a plus. That was helpful at the very least. But I mean, yeah. Vegas is it's transformed a lot. But I couldn't help driving past Allegiant Stadium, like, maybe we'll come back here for a Raider game. I'm sure Robert would appreciate that. But I was thinking
it's
about
a beautiful
that.
stadium.
Like, it's beautiful.
Right.
It's great. It's from the outside. It's got the curb appeal of the Allegiant Stadium is crazy. You got the sphere, which is cool. The kids got a kick out of that. That was dope. I love that. I got to try that experience one time. I think we were trying to go to the Golden Steer, but they were so booked up. It was crazy. It was, it's one of the the top steak houses in Vegas. But man, it was
that old school.
If it's your thing, it's still the place to be.
We're supposed to have a trip, so we may need to kind of put some of that on a docket and kind of bring that back for the folks to see what our trip would be like.
Well, I definitely got to go there with a plan in mind. Yeah, we got to go for an event. I don't want to be in Vegas for anything else because I'm not about to be gambling. I'm not drinking. I'm not clubbing. I'm not enjoying the nightlife.
I do want to try the different restaurants, the different. I too want to try the Golden Steer because I keep hearing that is the best steak for the dollar. It's an old school steakhouse.
Yeah, the Rat Pack ate there. Elvis. Yeah. It's one of the old favorites of old Las Vegas. So, it looked really good. But,
homemade Caesar salad with the homemade Caesar salad dressing right there at your dinner table. All that. I want to experience that.
She's a big Caesar salad fan. I can't do it. But that's her thing. But I was thinking about. I know you always I know you go to the Venetian every time you go, Robert. Y'all get them. Nice suite rooms that they got, but we didn't.
I mean, you want to relax,
right? Of course, you want to have
regular. I mean, the prices now is looking like. I mean, you really see that's the thing. I think that's where Vegas is going to lose me because you start looking at the per night. Like, I can just go ahead and take a little 3-day cruise or something for the price that you're going to give me for the room.
Have all the food and everything included. Entertainment included. Yeah.
So you start questioning. We wanted to do something we wanted to go to New Orleans just to try, some of the cafes, Cafe Du Monde, Moro's, things like that. So you're like, would have been dope is to take the train down there. But I just haven't seen a train that has sleeping amenities that would suffice for me.
So even if they do. It won't be the standard. Even if they do, it won't be what you.
Well, I mean, if it was just more it was just trying something different. You know what I mean? And on top of that, I'm just not sold on these aircraft because as many accidents I keep hearing about this,
Brother, I was supposed to be in Tulum last week and me and the wife backed out because it was like, hey, since it's been some changes in terms of our country, all of a sudden people forgot how to fly. You got planes kissing each other on runway. I'm like,
then the recent one, what is it? The recent one flipped over as it landed.
We ain't had this many accidents, and all of a sudden we didn't had 87 incidents or something crazy just in 2025, and we ain't even 2 months out. No, I'm good.
Something right.
If it ain't a necessity, I'm gonna wait.
That's exactly the reason why we're talking about taking the train. Like, hey, take the scenic route. I heard they had a nice steak on Amtrak. We get there, we'll go and eat for a day and do some shopping, and then head back home. It was just to do something different. And on top of that, it didn't hurt that all these aircraft, having accidents.
Dude, you got to know how much this has disrupted my personal life. I had finally gotten my family warmed up to the idea of actually getting on an airplane. Nobody but me was up for that challenge. We went and got the kids, the family got our passports. We ready to go do something outside of the normal and get out of California.
Just did the same,
And now it's like I can't convince them to save my life to get on an aircraft. I don't care.
No.
I don't care if it's a hot air balloon. They don't want no parts of it. And I can't even say I blame them because I'm at the point where it used to be easily the safest form of transportation, right? And now it's again
selling it.
Within the last month or so, we've had more incidents than we've had for years combined. And it's like
feels like almost decades.
Like this many incidents of crashes and it's just too much. And I'm not willing to put my family's life at risk. Yeah, like we'll just hold off until we get some. I don't know what's going on with that. I'm not sure. I mean,
it's very scary because even at work,
I don't want to blame the DEI hires.
Yo, that block,
Right.
that's a whole show.
Yeah, that's a whole different
show.
can of worms altogether.
It
Let's
was
not
like,
even.
DEI hire, that's what's happening. Right.
Right. So what happened all these years without these DEI incidents? All of a
Right.
sudden, yeah. But yeah, I digress on that one. But yeah, the way I'm with you on that, we literally had a trip planned. It was paid for, all inclusive. We're going with some family. And the more and more we talked about it, we just came to a conclusion like this ain't the time.
Nah.
When you got planes falling out, when you got planes disappearing, hey, this plane just called in to give us an update. They're ready to land. And then you find it 3 days later crash. Like, yeah, nah, that's not a good selling point for me.
Nah.
I think that I've always not been the greatest fan of flying, but I've come to terms in recent years with it where it's like, okay, and I know for me exactly what it is. It's lack of control. I'm in the sky. I got nothing to do with this. A car, I feel like I can turn a wheel. I can figure out, I'll go back to an action movie and try and recall, hey, how did they roll out there? Something. When you up there, it's like, hey, this is you talk about Jesus take the wheel. That's pretty much all this is going to be in the sky because you really have no option but to sit and wait and see how it unfolds.
Yeah.
Even
no access.
Nothing. They had footage of a guy who was praying as the plane was getting ready to touch down and crashing, and I was just like, yeah, that to see that, and he was so calm. I think he was one of them people who his faith. He was just like, hey, we all gonna go. If this is it, let me just get mine up right now. Hey, hold the door for me.
I ain't trying to go like that,
man.
Like, can y'all shut down the oxygen so I can pass out before it happens or something? You have to figure something out, or I'm getting in that cockpit and I'm going to try to figure some shit out.
Yeah, and then you see shows like Yellow Jackets and all these other things, and all of it's predicated on something going wrong with a
not Yellow Jackets. My wife can't get enough of that show.
He said Yellow Jackets. Yeah,
that show is crazy.
I'm good.
You said no.
I'm good.
Nope.
Only yellow is I'm worried about right now is really more gold, and it's this purple and gold because the Lakers did something they ain't done in quite some time last night, and they put it to Denver, a fully healthy Denver team nonetheless.
Right.
It took them out 123-100. I sat there watching that, and I was like,
from pillar to post.
Yeah, the defense is gonna fail eventually. Yeah. But no, they never went up there. It was belt to asses last night. Yeah. What do you guys think of the game?
I think that what we're seeing, what we saw is finally Luka get, comfortable. And I think part of it too is we talk about Luka, but I think we have to look at it from this dynamic. LeBron James accepting that he's going to be the second part to it and let Luka, kind of get familiar with himself, comfortable with it. And once because I think if all things are true and LeBron James didn't know, I think I'm gonna tell you something. I think he was a little bit salty. There's something.
They were playing good basketball before that trade.
Yeah,
that's coming off of 42 and 23. They had a little balance. I kind of questioned the same thing where it was like, why didn't you guys just go target a big with what you had? But when you really get out of the emotion of the moment, Luka at age 25 versus 80 at age 31, I'm like,
right. And then you have to speculate. They look at it and say, are we going to win? What are our odds of winning? Of winning it all.
You get a generational player for a bag of Funyuns and a 1992 Summer Jam T-shirt. In essence, when it comes past the AD part of it,
right, and that's why it was good to see. It's not since 2022 that we defeated them. So it's been some years. That's damn ridiculous.
You know what?
And it's not that we haven't played them well because we've had games.
Yeah.
We were. When we played them in the playoffs, we were up and we just couldn't maintain defensively.
That could have been. Yeah.
I really enjoyed watching that Rui to Reeves connection. They seem to have a certain synergy going on, man. The way they played together last night, and then you had pretty aside from Luka scoring 32. Again, he was looking like
almost a triple double.
Dallas Luka,
10 rebounds.
When he gets comfortable,
steals.
It's crazy. But considering that, you still got LeBron going off. I won't say going off, but he had 25. Rui had 21. Austin Reeves was 23. Right. You had some pretty even scoring.
People.
Yeah, you had four players in double digits, and you got contributions from players like Jordan Goodwin, which I was like, who is this dude? I'm not sure if I missed something this year.
Indeed.
Right, like who? Yeah, exactly. It was one of those type of deals. Yeah. Dalton Connect didn't do as much as but you can't get everybody involved. It's one of them deals where you You get 4 or 5 players over double digits. You've done a good job, but it was pretty even kill scoring. Defense, like you said, held up. I was surprised by that, but they just seemed to play together well, and that was I hadn't seen that in quite some time. But when you got players like LeBron and Luka who know how to play team basketball, who know how to move the ball,
they're going to figure it out.
They'll figure it out, right? I mean, you even up until not including last night, but I was starting to see like, Gabe Vincent is kind of returning to form. You're starting to get contributions from guys. I thought,
he's actually
starting to pay off and pay dividends. And I didn't think, I thought it was going to be a complete bust for his stint here in LA, but in recent games it's been looking pretty good. Never. It's on the up and up, but I don't, who knows how that'll shake out.
The ball movement is great. I think the ball movement is great.
But that was the one thing I wasn't worried about, Robert, to be honest with you. I wasn't worried about ball movement. I wasn't,
but on the same side, this is at this juncture in LeBron James' career, I was just waiting to see how. Cause see, it was not about Luka to me. I when we just break down in totality the whole thing, the trade, everything. We had this conversation off air before, Henri. I said, I think LeBron James is the problem. He's holding the team back. And with all due respect to LeBron James in his illustrious career, he's 40 years old, and for him to be at the forefront of the team, still trying to push it forward, we know he can't play defense. He's just not that guy. In order for him to be the LeBron offensively, he can't give up all that energy defensively. So when I saw it, and I said, we've never seen this before. And for a guy to be still averaging 25, 20 plus points a game, even at his age, other teams, but if think about the average 40-year-old wouldn't be playing, let alone scoring that much points. So it'd be easy to move on from him. It was so hard, right? Yeah. So they had to make a decision, and that decision came hard. And LeBron James, I applaud him at this point for seemingly looked like he got past it, because he played well off the ball when Luka was in transition and fast breaks. I think the tempo is a little bit better with Luka, controlling the ball. There's something about that flow and LeBron James playing freely off the ball. I like that, and they're able to switch up when they need to. But I think, if I were to say, I prefer LeBron James being off the ball now.
Oh, you said it. I was about to.
I think he's a bigger threat.
I was about to go there.
I actually think he's a bigger threat off the ball, because when he's pounding that ball, whether it's in the post or if he's holding up top, everything stops and everyone waits. The one thing we saw in that game last night, Luka is sitting here, 90 feet throwing the ball. Like, here, you run out, just go. If you run, I'm going to get it to you. And I think that's one of the things that changed. The other thing you saw was a lot of that energy with the ball movement led to wide open threes that they're knocking down, which the Lakers haven't done it. I don't know how many years. You look at how just the ball kept moving, and it was always the extra pass. And so to that point, I think shout out to the coaching staff to really just implement a style, and they're starting to look like they actually have an identity. That was one of my biggest critiques with Darvin last year. It was just like, well, we injured. All right, well, you just don't get to stop playing because you're injured. Like, somebody's got a jersey on. So what does that mean for the rest of the team? Like, but they actually look like, you look at how they double team, how they fronted Jokic and were able to move and still get out and recover. They got some young legs out there now. I think Austin Reeves has come along and has accepted his role and realizes, like, hey, I can be a really pivotal part in what we're doing now. And then his connection with Dorian Finney-Smith, you also see that, and you can tell there's some familiarity there. There's some comfort. So overall, that was just a really good balanced game. I thought they did enough on defense with what they had. A lot of high scoring, wide open shots were great, but you saw that joy in Luka, and I think that's what they need to rely on, because a lot of people, as much as people are celebrating this trade, don't realize at the end of this season, Luka can walk. He is available to walk. Yeah. So to have him smiling, to have him playing around with JR and the team really embracing him and kind of crossing that role, I think that speaks more volume than anything, because you want to show him, hey, we can build on this. Because if he walks away from us, he's not losing any money. He can go somewhere else. He can go play and make some more money, actually, in one of these no-tax states if he wanted to. So I think that's the bigger implication. And it's one of the things he said, it's tough to play here, this team and this building, basically, but I'm starting to feel like myself again. And I think that if they can embrace that, keep him in that loop, then yeah, something special could happen.
Yeah, they got to find a way to appease him, no doubt, because you don't want him walking away, which I don't foresee that happening.
I don't either.
I think he sees the opportunity.
I didn't see him being
off the court. Yeah, he's got to see that there's this is not Dallas. As great as you performed in Dallas, as much as they embraced you, and as much was coming your way as a superstar, you get a whole lot more of that here in LA. But I guess by that very same notion, he can go to New York and get even more technically. But or maybe Golden State. But I hope that he decides that he wants to stay in the purple and gold. At least for the short term, at least for the next 4 or 5 years. I don't know what that'll look like. But again, the takeaways from that game there were many, even defensively. Like, I'm not saying that they were completely shutting them down, but when Aaron Gordon is leading all scorers for the Nuggets at 24, and nobody else is over 20, you'll have some success. If you can keep Jokic at 12 points, you know what I mean? He still did his thing on the boards, and he had a triple-double, but we're talking about a low-scoring. That's a very low-scoring triple-double for Jokic, who's pretty much averaging a triple-double this year. And that's a big, which is pretty damn impressive. But you hold him at 12,
Turnovers.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, they were giving the rock up. Yeah, that certainly didn't.
Luka had 4 steals by himself, so yeah.
I mean, really, oddly enough, like, we outscored him in the paint. That was a crazy thing.
Right.
That was true.
Jokic only had 12.
That was lopsided.
Yeah.
Right, lopsided.
But you saw LeBron using his size on Jokic and fronting him with weak side help from Hayes. Everybody kind of sunk in, and it reminded me of defense that we used to coach when we were coaching in high school, where it's like, look, everybody's in help side. If we can, to your point, Reed, yes, he can still get a triple-double, but if it's 12 versus 36 points, we got a chance of winning. Good. Hey, you got your triple-double, good for you, but he worked for everything he got that game. And I think if they can keep that up, and you can keep, just pushing. The other thing is hitting open shots. Hitting open shots allows you to get back, set up your defense, you clanging shots everywhere and then trying to get out with teams that run, that's going to be a problem. So I think it was a good example of what it could look like if you can make that how you consistently play. But you can't have, mishaps like you had in Charlotte against Charlotte and things like that, where you're dominating these teams. But to beat Denver at home by 23, that was to me the most impressive win of the year.
Because we were knocking down some shots. I mean, we shot I believe it was 50 from the field. So, and it's not that we put up more shots. I mean, it was pretty much even for the shots. We just were knocking them down. Versus the last game we played Charlotte. I think that what the Lakers are going to have to be able to do moving forward is, we know we're not going to be a top defensive team. We just have to be able to play defense in certain spurts and certain times. Collectively, like you said, because we are undersized and we won't have to, in the Western Conference, we're going to have to deal with the big men. Well, except for Wemby right now, but we're going to have to, Jokic, we're going to see him again. There's going to be no doubt about that. And that's when, and I know we got a little 8-game stretch coming up with, almost, I think, a few back-to-backs. LeBron James was kind of crying about that, which, I understand with them 40-year-old legs. Right. But I think that could be very telling for us, because at the end of the day, besides LeBron, we still got some youth on us. So I don't expect us to be able to fall off like that. It could be a, real character building. Moving forward, we got to take this victory, because, we snapped there. Did it have a 8-game winning streak? So we snapped that. Now, if we can take that momentum into this 8-game slide and see how it is, see how Luka, because it seems like he's getting lax. So that's going to be the thing. Is Luka going to show us now? Is this the Luka we're going to see moving forward? That's what's going to be determined. I mean, I know it took him a while to kind of get his legs. I know he lost some weight, even more. And part of that, like I said, I just don't think it was Luka. I think it was he trying to. I don't know if LeBron had a conversation with him or someone had a conversation and said, "Hey, this is your team. Stop trying to, you worried about LeBron." I think he was, when he was playing, when he first, got to the team, he was so worried about LeBron and making sure that LeBron, touched the ball a certain amount of times and everything. And instead, he just needs to go and let LeBron feed off that. And that's what really happened. And it seems like you said, LeBron was just like, it was like, for once, I don't have to have the ball in my hand and I can kind of do damage off the ball. And create mismatches because he knew he knows he's going to be a big mismatch. And now I can get my points in a different flow of the game. So, and kudos to the coach too. I will say, we got to give Riddick, I don't know if you guys heard during last week. I mean, the way, he already came out there and I know you're going to say, and I'm paraphrasing. He said, I know you guys are going to think I'm glazing LeBron, but he kind of spoke highly of him, like he's 40 years old and that he was holding the team and everything. It just goes to show with those comments, like he's a different coach. He's because no other coach that's that youth in him. He's still aware of it. You know what I mean? And I think I'm getting past it now. I was still hurt. Don't get me wrong. I was still hurt by the trade, but I'm understanding because the sensitive nature of it, of just trading when I thought that we possibly had a chance. It's good to see now. Like I'm at
we
peace
hit a stride, and that made it very difficult. Well, if we weren't playing well, it would have been easy to say, "Yeah, let's watch.
Let's move on from this." Yeah,
right. But even then, I still understand it. Once you kind of get out your feelings about it, you understand. Now, because think of it from this standpoint. Could you imagine that we never made the trade? They never really spoke on it, and we find out about this later. We don't win a championship. We don't, they kind of LeBron goes out in the sunset and be like, guess what? We could have traded for Luka in 2025, and we chose not to. That would be the bigger story. So,
and also, you would have AD injured for the season if he's still in LA. Like, that happens regardless. You know what I mean?
Right.
But you know what I noticed, and maybe I'm wrong. You guys tell me what you think about this take. As dominant as Jokic can be and as great of a player he has got to be one of the easiest superstars to stymie his game and to remedy. Like, he seems to struggle with people who front him in the post. Like, real physicality for as big as he is, he seems to struggle with that a bit. Like, that's when I see him kind of wither a little bit. I'm not saying that maybe I'm wrong about that take, but I just think if you put a body on him, a presence, you know what I mean? Somebody with some good enough size, not even height, just challenge. Good size. It seems to that challenge seems to knock him off track a little bit.
Because those size-wise, in terms of height, they were similar, but it was that body. But if you think about what we did with JaVale and Dwight, two big physical presences that would just annoy and disrupt. Jokic, in terms of basketball IQ, is off the charts. I mean, he passes like a big, he hits wide open shots. He is by far the complete package. But to that point, which is why I think Bear and I harp so much about not going back and either running it back or getting some of these big physical presences, we've seen, hey, this is where it's going to work. Because we've watched it happen before.
Right.
I mean, don't get me wrong. He could have, coupled with just having a bad game, because that's going to happen too. And that's why I'm excited about what we saw. But I think we need to see it more consistently. The Charlotte game, for example, that went down when Austin Reeves went off the floor. Right? They came back. Everything they did, once he got ejected, it was like, hey, we're missing a component. And I think that's where the challenge the Lakers are going to have is, you don't have enough talent to where you can miss any of your guys. You do have to play near perfect basketball to get the results you're going to want. And like you said, Dalton Connect wasn't a factor this game. He may be the one that steps up.
Yeah.
Dorian Finney may have a worse game next time, but you kind of have to have between Luka, Austin,
you got to have an X factor.
Rui,
because
you kind of need that almost nightly in order to against better teams. You might be able to get away with the Washingtons and some of these other teams of the world, but those four guys, you pretty much gonna need dialed in, and then see whoever that next guy is, or two. If you can get two guys to step up, then you're in a much better spot.
But it does help when you got the ball moving the way it did. Like the thing about it is, like, if you're not a great shooting team, the best thing for you to do is move the ball and get open shots, because that increases your chances.
Well,
right?
and until yesterday, I mean, I didn't consider us a great shooting team. So when I saw that, I mean, like I said, 50%. When you look at the Charlotte game and after Reeves went out, part of the issue was because they attacked the middle. Luka basically turned them to the middle. There was no one there to stop him. And once he got that deep, it was over with. And they were able to get they were able to get easy buckets in the paint. And that's how they got us. I mean, I listen, I know Luka isn't that great defensively, but when he just got ate up at the end, I'm just like, Jesus, you let this man. I mean, I think, too, anybody he's not the quickest guy on his feet. So it would make sense that he got beat, but usually you would have an AD to step up in that instance. And now that we don't have that, and like you were saying, Chris, that's what I still didn't understand. Like, if you can get athletic bigs that can, get up and on the floor and be passed, at the very least, that would help out. They may not be, scores or anything like that, but rebounding defensively and just, being a physical body, I would take that right now. I would,
Yeah.
I would most definitely take that, because Jokic, that is the way, and I think we're going to see him
Which
again.
is why I understood why they wanted like a Valanciunas, because it's literally a huge body with some skill set, but more so physical girth to be like, hey, you're gonna have to get around this wall if nothing else. So yeah.
And he does. I mean, like I say, Jokic tends to struggle with people who have, again, size.
Yeah.
Not in height, but like just that girth and that physicality. He tends to struggle with that.
Right.
And if you can take him off his game in that sense, and you can keep everybody else like the Michael Porter Jr.'s out of the game, Jamal Murray is going to do his thing more often than not. But if he's having a bad night on top of that, the guys like Christian Braun, everybody else, if they're not hurting you, you stand a pretty good damn chance of winning a game. Hell, even a series if you can string 4 games together like that.
Yeah. And remember, that collective defense, yeah.
Right. As a Laker fan, it's hard for me to even swallow, because I remember playing in the playoffs. We were handling it. Just we couldn't keep it up defensively throughout like the second half. But we showed,
which is what I was worried about this game. I thought it would look like the playoff game where we led 3.5 quarters and they just turn it on and kind of win at the end. But
and Murray
goes the complete opposite way. Yeah.
Right. But I'll take it nonetheless, though.
As I said, I'll take it, and I think we just have to see, now that we have kind of a benchmark of what it looks like when it all comes together, the next couple of weeks as they go through this really tough stretch, we'll be able to see kind of what that looks like and see if they can kind of build on this. I think that's the most important part. But I was sitting there, and we talked a little bit about AD and his injury and him being injured, and it made me think of a question that I have for the two of you. Because we've watched basketball for quite some time now. But my question is, if you could take away the injuries for one player that I'm about to name, who would it be? So if you think about this player's career, if you could eliminate all of that player's injuries and they just played through their career injury-free, who do you take as a GM? Let's make it a GM, right? Would you take Grant Hill?
I was about to say that.
Would you take Derrick Rose? Would you take Yao Ming? Would you take Brandon Roy?
I knew you were going to say it.
Tracy McGrady.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's what you had.
Yeah, that's, and I wanted to have that conversation now. I thought that could have been a show in and of itself. The all-time what-if team. Yeah. Oh my goodness! You can go further back.
We might be able to build on it.
You can go all the way back and name the first Wembanyama, which was Ralph Sampson. I mean, that was a dude who would have been. I mean, him and Hakeem in Houston, man, they had went to the finals. What, in the second season in the league or something like that? Like, they were already making strides and they were proving themselves to be a force to be reckoned with in the NBA. But I'm trying to think. For me, I'm gonna say Grant Hill all day because At least, listen, I'm not just saying this because he's a Duke guy. It doesn't hurt, but and this might sound a little outrageous.
In case you didn't know, Henry is deep Duke and I'm deep Tar Heel.
Oh, so yeah, man. And little do y'all know, I know we talk a lot of Lakers. We know we live in California. We're all LA natives. It is what it is. I'm a Boston Celtic fan and a Detroit Piston fan as well. And why, you might ask? They were the two teams who were they're the only two teams competing with the Lakers back when they were at their height. And I was a Laker hater as a kid, and those two teams, hey man, they had their fair share of wins against the Lakers.
Against the grain.
We beat them in the finals. That's really what it was. But I grew to actually love those teams. They became my teams. But me being a Duke lover, Grant Hill, and I've said this before, and I'm not the only person who feels this way. I thought he was LeBron James before LeBron James. And that he had such an all-around game. He was a guy who he could pass the ball. He was a more than decent ball handler. He could rebound, not at a high clip. We ain't talking Rodman numbers, but for a small forward, I mean, we're talking 6-7 rebounds a night. Pretty damn good. Capable of getting you a triple double on select nights. He could pretty much do it all. Was he the greatest shooter from deep? No. I mean, he stood to improve in that greatly. But I saw him kind of doing that. But I'm talking about just his ability. When I say he would routinely abuse Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen on the wing,
yes,
with that stutter step and that in and out and go to the basket. I'm talking about and attack the basket.
And he was explosive.
Oh my good man, Grant Hill was really coming on as one of the premier players in the league, and I think he was one of those guys who would have competed at the very least in the Kobe era. He would have been one of those dudes had he been. I mean, obviously you got T-Mac too. It's a tough one when you say that because T-Mac was so naturally
that was
gifted.
The one that, yeah.
But T-Mac is kind of, again, he's a bit of an outlier in even this scenario because of all of those what if guys, he played the most games. He just missed stretches when it was the most important in his career. He never got out of the first round or never led a team out of the first round. But in terms of what we saw him do, because he has the most complete body of work, if you will, out of this group, if you want to call it that. Yeah, like he had the most complete career by far. But you might argue he just didn't maximize. But Grant Hill was really, he was taking Detroit and that Piston team to a whole different stratosphere. Are we talking about in
terms of
like what do you mean?
Sustained greatness with T-Mac in comparison to the other players?
You know what?
Because
and this way, before we go back to that, there's one reason why I'll give Grant Hill the nod. I think Grant Hill was probably more driven to be great than maybe T-Mac was leaning on his natural abilities. Like T-Mac, I'm not saying he didn't work hard. I don't doubt. Listen, you don't become T-Mac by not working hard and not making sacrifices. I just think that Grant Hill may have been more dedicated to, like you talked about, Robert, in the conversation we had last night, to being a legacy all-time great. I think he saw himself in that lineage of Michael Jordan as one of those, as an heir to the Michael Jordan throne. I think he saw himself as one of those guys. And I think he took it more serious. And I thought
coming out of college, did you see Grant Hill? Like coming out of college, did you see or believe Grant Hill was going to be the player that when he stepped into the scene, that guy? When
Leitner stepped out of the way, I definitely, but you saw it even before that. Like I knew he was as good you asking me, again, a Duke fan at the very height at that Duke era of, my favorite era, obviously, was that Leitner era. Christian Leitner is the greatest college basketball player I've seen in my lifetime. That's just me. You know what I mean? Again, there's a bias there, and I'm clear about that. But I mean, in terms of just the things he did, they were like the last team before the Florida Gators to win back-to-back championships. He played in the era, Shaq, Chris Webber, Jim Jackson, he played with some real monsters in college basketball and found a way to knock off that UNLV team with Larry Johnson and Stacey Augmon and Anderson. Like he slayed some. Christian Leitner, along with Christian Hurley and Grant Hill, no doubt. He wasn't doing it by himself. Grant Hill was a big part of that. I knew Grant had the potential, but it wasn't until Christian Leitner was drafted and got out of the way, went to the league, that I saw Grant Hill's got some real potential. Like long term in the NBA, whereas Christian Leitner, I think there was always that question, how was he going to fare in the pros? I would have wanted him to have a better career. He didn't have a bad career by any stretch, but he didn't have, he wasn't.
Same as like a Carolina Tyler Hansbrough,
pretty much,
example, where it's like you are at the apex of what it's going to be. Yeah.
Pretty much. But but I thought Christian Leitner had far more skill than, than a Tyler Hansbrough, who was just an energy guy. Not just an energy guy, but I knew Grant had it in him, but it wasn't until he got to the league I saw wow, I didn't know he had this much. And I thought he was really turning that page and becoming a real bona fide superstar of the likes of a Michael Jordan.
You could make from
I saw when he played, but when I saw Grant Hill just play the Bulls, and I saw him when and just gave it to Jordan and Pippen, raised on him he you know what it is? I think that Grant Hill, and that's not my pick, by the way, but I will say, watching him play, he was quiet, but he was an assassin. Like you could tell, he played with an energy that he wanted it. For me, this is a hard question, Chris, because
it is. That's why I was like, "Hey,
T-Mac."
You guys had no clue what the question was going to be for that reason. Yeah,
the infamous T-Mac and Kobe game where they just went at it shot for shot. Yeah. But he also, which is one of the greatest games. Yeah, that was a shootout. But then again, Brandon Roy did the same thing. Brandon Roy was something to behold. Had he not had the knee issues, that dude right there.
We forgot somebody,
would have
y'all.
been. I mean,
you got to put Penny on this list. He didn't really fully realize. That makes it tough.
I took him off on purpose because I knew we would eventually have an episode where we'd go through all of these guys. So I left a couple gems off actually. So yeah,
I think personally, man, see T-Mac, we're talking about gifted size and what he's able to do, light-footed, smooth, can attack the basketball. I mean, when he's on fire. I mean, he is comparable to Kobe in that sense. When he goes off, he's going to go off.
I would argue natural ability. He might be better as a raw talent than Kobe Bryant. I think Kobe just worked harder at his craft than Tracy did.
Kobe would probably tell you that because he talked about how hard it was.
He was a mismatch.
Yeah,
he was a nightmare.
If you had now, I think I would go with for my dollar. I would go with T-Mac. I mean, you can't go wrong with any of them, but just his natural ability, his skill set, his size. I mean, just to watch him, the athleticism, and of course, we were robbed of it. We never got a chance to see him and Yao play together, which I thought if they could have both remained healthy, eventually they probably would have won one. Yeah, I mean, that would because Yao Ming started coming around. Soon as his injury, soon as he became like a force to be reckoned with, and he got familiar with the game and comfortable with the NBA setting, he took off. But the injuries,
and they had pieces around them. They actually had shooters, defenders. They had role players that would have lent to an eventual championship. I think. Yeah, I think that's interesting.
But my only question:
how many championships they would have won? But
yeah,
what?
But in this scenario, my only question is: you pick T-Mac, and that's are we talking Orlando T-Mac? Are we talking Houston T-Mac? Are we talking because you say only one can be injury free? So even though T-Mac doesn't suffer injuries, right, and he's at his optimal peak form, but Yao Ming now isn't because you can't have both, right, Chris? In this scenario. So if T-Mac is the guy you restored to 100% health.
Oh, that's not fair.
No, what I'm saying, because he said only one. And Yao was one of those choices, so you can't have T-Mac and Yao. So did they do it with just T-Mac at his height and at the peak, but Yao was injured?
Not in that era of basketball, no. He would have to have a Yao Ming to really compete and be a force in the league at that time. Lakers were still going. That wasn't going to happen. Big men were still very much alive and needed in that capacity that of that era, not because and on top of that, I mean we're talking about a dude not just because we've seen guys that his size, like you see the Wembys and everything, they're very thin and their stance and stature.
Yeah,
Yao Ming was hefty.
Yeah, Yao Ming made Shaq look like a kid, and that's when I knew. I was like, oh wow, yeah.
And he started to develop a little baby hook. He started getting better footwork. Yeah, mm-hmm. I mean, he became a force. Yao Ming was going to be a problem for anyone. And so, since I can't have him, I think I would. I would still go with him. That Orlando, he was a beast in Orlando. Yeah. That's when I knew. Yeah. So that's why when we knew, Houston was going to get him, we were expecting that. We were expecting Orlando. So when he got there, and then you get Yao Ming, and Yao Ming turns out not to just be all hype like a lot of, we have to, for the people that's not our age, you have to understand a lot of the foreign players were a lot of hype at that time. We're talking about the Darkos and everything like that. These guys were coming in the league with big names, but they didn't deliver. But Yao Ming, after he got settled in, he took off.
Oh yeah,
and he was. I mean, you know what? It's crazy because you just imagine if the league would have been so lucky to have a international player like Yao Ming actually ball and have like a long, healthy, illustrious career. Do you imagine? Can you imagine that? And winning a championship and becoming like the new dominant big man, the face of the dominant big man.
Yeah,
that'd have been a sight to see. I mean, you can't go wrong with any of these guys because to see Brandon Roy, I think you think about Dame time.
Brandon Roy was an alien. The way because he looked so unassuming. He wasn't
his energy.
He didn't have the physique. He didn't have the stature. He didn't, and the way that man used to go off was just like, where's this coming from?
He can shoot that ball, boy. He get that stroke going. I mean, and I'll say with Brandon Roy, it wasn't super flashy. He was a high IQ guy too. He knew how to put the ball on the floor. He knew how to get to his spots. Yep. He had the mid range. He can shoot from three. He had it all. And just, I mean, that's another thing. You imagine if he would have been there and you would have had a Greg Oden that actually was healthy, and see how that could have possibly turned out. Man, because remember, going back to
just him and LaMarcus Aldridge were hell of a tandem, man. Like that was
right.
The thing about Brandon Roy, of the players on this list, because he's probably the least assuming and probably the least recognizable name.
Yeah.
The thing about Brandon Roy that stood out to me, that I said, this guy is special. He had that Michael Jordan gene. And what I mean by that is, in the playoffs, he got bigger. Not too many guys get bigger when the lights are the brightest. Yep. Like, that was a very rare thing. Effectively, I mean, his stats he just got better in those moments. And that's a rare feat in and of itself of any sport, to get better when it counts the most.
Talk about the playoff Rondo.
Yes.
Some of these guys,
Yeah, but I mean, he was already a guy who was ascending to kind of star status. Maybe even superstar status. I think eventually he would have definitely done that. I mean, Kobe Bryant sung his praises, and for good. If Kobe Bryant is singing your praises, much like a T-Mac, a Brandon Roy, we know Kobe had a great respect for his opponents in general. But those standout talents, you couldn't help but see, like, Brandon Roy he just had that killer. Like, it's time to go to work when the playoff mode was in.
Right.
He was a different beast. But I mean, so the list was Yao Ming, T-Mac, Grant Hill, Brandon Roy, and Derrick Rose, right? Yeah, that's a tough one. Yeah, I'm still going with Grant, but Derrick Rose is definitely one of those dudes where I'm like, youngest MVP in the league. I mean, I remember the thing about Derrick Rose that got me was my father-in-law, God rest his soul, he was a big basketball fan too, and he just could not get over how Derrick Rose as a rookie looked. He was like, man, this dude, you think he's been playing for 10 and 12 years, but he's a rookie. He just so poised. He just has it. He just knows what he's doing.
Down the lane.
Yeah, and
that on somebody special. And not even touch the rim. You're talking about just pushing the ball through, his explosiveness, his handle, that leading to his explosiveness. It was different. I will say, when I looked at this, and so just to give you a little insight, a couple of people I left off Penny.
Okay.
I left off another international player like Arvydas Sabonis, and we could have argued if he got there earlier and injuries, that might have been something too. So Danny Granger, I kind of considered on that list, because that's kind of how we found out about Paul George, even though he was never going to be that guy, but where he was when he got injured kind of left the door open. But I'm with you, Ree, on this, and I'm telling you what stood out to me, and I'll never forget it. That chess piece Pistons jersey that I used to look at, it was like, this is
the ugly one with the teal,
Grant Hill and
teal
that
green.
Thing, the horse. It's like, I will never forget them playing the Bulls. Grant Hill had a change of pace, change of direction for a dunk with Scottie Pippen on him. And
that's exactly.
I was like, hold on. Scottie was world class to me. Like, of all the players for me, because Scottie's the reason I wore 33 or wanted 33, because he was the epitome of it all to me. Scottie is what made me fall in love with the three position.
Yeah, same
because
here.
It was the perfect balance.
Same here. Yeah.
It was okay, cool. The three to me is like the quintessential basketball position, because you get the best of both worlds, right? As a one, you're supposed to bring up, you're supposed to facilitate. As a five, you're supposed to bang and pound and do all that. Scottie got to do it all, but he was a world-class defender. And that was something when I played that I wanted to be like just a good, solid defender, stay in front of people, harass, make things hard, but he brought the ball up. He shot at a decent rate. So Scottie was like hey, this is what basketball should be, because you got the best of both worlds. But I will never forget Scottie sitting in that defensive stance. Grant went one way, straight through the legs, exploded through, nobody could get, and he dunked on him and just kind of walked away with like that's just the first one. And I was like, I vividly remember, you talk about certain basketball plays. I remember that play. I remember when Ori hit that game winner that Lottie tipped out. Like there are just certain plays in basketball where I was like, hey, that was a moment.
That
and
was a
I
moment.
remember,
Yeah.
granted, I was just like, if this guy kept at this pace to that point, I can't even remember who he had with him at that time, but I don't know if he would have taken them all the way by himself.
No. He would have needed some help. He didn't have much on that team. I want to say
Right.
like it was him,
The same
Lindsey
way
Hunter.
we talk about Yao and T-Mac and everything. I was like, yeah, he would have been great, but I don't see him climbing that mountain. But when I looked at that, I was like, this is different. And he was another 3. So that was for me like, yeah, he's got a little bit of all of it.
Yeah. My only problem with Grant at times, he could be a little bit too unselfish. And I thought, considering considering the level of talent he had around him, Grant Hill should have averaged 30 points easily. Like he didn't have enough to. I mean, but that was just Grant's nature, his ability to share the ball.
Yep.
He can rebound. He can do it all right.
Grant
and again,
was a system guy from college.
Yeah. But I'm happy you mentioned that. He had proven in the NBA he could be a great, not just a system guy, but he could be a great one-on-one player. And I didn't know he had that in him. That's what shocked me. Like Grant really he can go out and get his own. Never mind outside of the system.
Got a little wiggle.
And when you say that play, I'm thinking like, which one are we talking about? Because he did it quite a number of times on Pippen and Jordan. Because when he caught Jordan, for those who don't understand this, you cannot believe that there was a time, well, most of his career with Michael Jordan, to be honest with you, where Mike would tire himself out against the best offensive player on the other team and stick Scotty on him. Scotty was your last line of defense. If Scotty couldn't get it done, you in deep shit. It is what it is.
Yeah, because Luke Longley,
for as great as Michael, because for as great as Michael Jordan was on both ends of the floor, Scotty was by a country mile the best defender in the NBA, especially on a perimeter, like bar none. I'm not even having this conversation with nobody. Scottie Pippen epitomized what it was to be a Swiss Army knife, a defensive specialist. Scotty did it all. I mean, Scotty really was one of those dudes where I remember the Williams always like having this thing with Scottie Pippen, and I didn't get it. I was like, remember, Mike is the guy. And they were like, nah, but I never forget when John Starks racked on Michael Jordan when he went with that left-handed dunk. Their whole thing was, but he didn't get Scotty. That was on Mike. And I was like, what? Right. Oh, that was Mike. He didn't get Scotty, though. Scotty wasn't in the picture. And I was like, and I was like, that I didn't realize it until later. Like after Charles Barkley and maybe Isaiah Thomas, Scotty is my favorite player of all time. I mean, he doesn't get enough love for what he did to help that Bulls team become the dynasty that they became and as dominant as they were. But I watched Grant shake up Mike and Scotty on a number of plays like that with that change of pace and then get straight to the rack. And he just, even with his head-to-heads, his stats against Michael Jordan, like he really did compete. He really did answer the call against Michael Jordan. Most players shied away from that. And they got a little small in the moment. Grant wasn't about that. He was like, nah, dude, I'm here too. I'm a premier player in this league. I want to show you that I'm really on your trajectory if we being honest. Like, he was dedicated. Right. He had it all. It's just that we didn't get a chance to see it. I mean, he had a good career. 19 seasons in the league. He played great in Phoenix. Maybe that injury helped him sustain his career later on the back end because he didn't have as much wear and tear on him.
Figure it out.
Yeah, but those ankle injuries, man, and that was the one thing I hated that Detroit. We didn't force him to do it, but he wanted to play with his team in the playoffs when he knew he was hurt. He probably should have sat that out. I know we needed him to have a fighting shot at anything, but it was just like he should have taken that time. He's like a championship boxer. Like if you leave it to himself, he'll die in the ring. You'll have to save him from himself. And nobody was there to do that for him. And damn, are we talking about what if? And that shit is, oh my God. When I think about Grant, Penny, T-Mac, again, T-Mac, I kind of leave him off in a sense because we saw enough of him to say like, yeah, I don't think it's a matter of, clearly he has the talent to be one of the all-time greats. Again, natural ability through the roof. I mean, without having to, I'm sure T-Mac could take summers off of playing ball at all and jump back on the court when the season starts and be right. You know what I mean? Like, I believe that with all my heart. Like, he was just that naturally gifted. But Grant, man, I thought he was kind of a cut above in that regard. And I really saw him as somebody to compete with Kobe in that era, before that era. I thought they would have dueled it out for who was the heir apparent to Michael Jordan. That's just, but then again, could be my biases in a way.
We're talking about a guy, I'm pretty sure, off the top of my head, that made Fila relevant in basketball as a shoe.
Oh my good, you forget about that. That's the hell of a point, though. I never
because his play on the court was so big, like people actually went and bought the Grant Hill Filas, right?
They were fly too.
The fact that
the first two,
that white with that blue
T-Mac had some
ring,
nice ones too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, but it was just crazy because but up until that point, it was just Nike or nothing, and here all this out of nowhere, like a Fila shoe with a little bit of patent leather around it, became like the shoe to get. Like I need the Grant Hills.
I need them Grants.
I still want them.
And it, oh yeah, that was a hell of a list. That oof.
And even guys like Arvydas Sabonis, his thing wasn't even about injuries. He just came so late in his career.
Right.
And he came, you might have.
Circumstantial.
Listen, a lot of vets will tell you, man, Arvydas Sabonis at his peak in Europe, had he come over here into the NBA,
the Blues.
He would have probably given Shaq a run for his money and then some. I mean, we might be talking about Arvydas as the most dominant
skill set,
everything, man. And this dude
being able to step out.
at
that time was unheard of. Yeah,
he was fearless too. Like he wasn't shook up by no NBA, like no Shaqs and no Hakeem, whatever with that. Well, he. I mean, the thing about Arvydas, he was.
These people are like from war-ridden.
Yeah, but he had. But Arvydas was. Listen, he had the. I won't say the swag, but he had a confidence about him that he would say it publicly, like I'm better than these dudes. Like he wasn't. Right. You didn't hear that a lot from European players. They had more humility, like they were just happy to be in the league. I won't say happy to be in the league, but he was just flat out like, I'm that dude. And the reason why he didn't come to the league, he didn't think he had to prove anything to the American audience. It's like, forget, like I ain't got to prove that I'm the best in the world by going to the NBA. Like I'm the best here. I'm the best playing in Lithuania. Like I ain't got to go to the NBA to prove to you I'm the best big or the best player in the game.
When we line up across from each other, that who I am.
And when he finally came to the league, as old as he was still a force. That dude was, man, and that Portland team was something. It could have been a real problem. I don't know why they couldn't get over the hump with all those pieces that they had, man.
That needs to be a show. The teams that didn't. You talk about them, you talk about the Sacramento Kings. There's a couple of teams there, boy. That might need to be an upcoming episode, fellas. But that was good discussion. I knew that would get some things.
Yeah, that threw me off. Yeah, that was
the only person if Penny's in the mix, it might change my answer. It just might, because we knew
it most definitely changed my answer.
Because Penny was honestly okay. So you had Penny and Grant Hill, who predate Kobe Bryant by a couple of years, right? And they were those guys on the cusp of really chasing down Michael Jordan's legacy.
Those were the two guys. Grant Hill, Drink Spike, Little Penny, all of that. Those were the two guys.
They were marketing machines. They had it all. And Penny wasn't a natural fit for a guy who was could have been the face of the league, because he was shy. He kind of had some kind of social anxiety issues. He did not. People don't understand this. Like the reason for Little Penny was because Penny wasn't comfortable in front of the camera.
He needed an alter
ego. He needed kind of an alter ego. He needed something else as a stamp between him and the audience. But that was Penny was, I mean, it wasn't natural to him, but he still kind of illuminated that star quality, whether he wanted to or not. He just had it. You know what I mean? And Grant Hill was a little more.
And how they packaged him was great.
Yeah. That Little Penny campaign was. It was.
They're iconic.
Those are Chris Rock voicing. That was great on Nike's part.
Even all the way down into a music video. He's in the Little Penny's in the music. I mean, Little Penny and those commercials and the shoes are iconic to the 90s. Yep. Yeah, that was very. I mean, that's when Nike really.
Oh yeah,
they were out doing themselves with commercials and their campaigns. Right. Yeah, that was. Yeah.
Yeah, they really were. Boy. That was a time.
Yes, to see that Penny and to see him coming off and see, I just didn't. I mean, because you didn't really hear much about him. You know what when they drafted
Memphis?
Him,
Yeah, you didn't hear it.
Like, wow. And then he stepped onto the scene and him and Shaq took off.
Oh, man.
So they took off. A lot of us see that. Now, that was another big trade, another big thing when Shaq leaving that squad after they went to the finals. And, we know what happened. The multiple missed free throws to ice the game from Derek.
Nick Anderson,
Nick Anderson, two opportunities to seal the game.
No, he had he missed 4 free throws, didn't he? Was
four free throws total?
He missed 4. He missed 4. He missed 2. got the rebound from missing the second one, got fouled on the rebound, and missed him again. I still remember that because I love that Orlando team, and it was all bad. Yeah.
You talking about a series of plays or 4 free throws that could have changed the course of history for that Magic team. Like that's one of the greatest what ifs. What if they win that game? Does that change that series altogether? Is there confidence? Because that shot their confidence.
May never go because you go on and win something. Yeah, who's to say you don't go and fight again?
Though I do believe Shaq leaves at some point. Yeah, because Shaq was so box office, he had to get up out of Orlando.
Shaq was, but he may not have left as soon especially if they had won. Yeah, he would have ran it back another year or so to be like, hey, until. But yeah, his personality and who we know him to be now, he was destined for LA eventually. Yeah. Lakers more specifically, not just LA, but the Lakers specifically.
Well, back then there was no other option in LA. Like it was the Lakers and then there was that JV team. Like they did. You're talking about cellar dwellers. The Clippers didn't even count. They weren't considered no free agents. Like no, that wasn't even
Dream team versus drill team.
Wow. Yeah, for real. I mean, now you're
in that sports arena. Yeah. Stay in the sports arena. Yeah, you stay up over there. You don't come over there. People. Yeah. That people forgot. See, a lot of us, real Laker fans, we remember before we got a Kobe. Remember the guys that we had. We still had Eldon. Man, come on,
Keep
the Campbell.
The Lakers once had a man named Pig.
Pig Miller. Jesus.
Pig Miller.
Yeah, Pig Miller.
Dale 3.
Dale.
Wayne Cooper. That's when they had
one of my faves, Eddie Jones.
LA point guards at one point. Yeah.
Nick the Quick.
Anthony
Those
Peeler.
are the 2 guys that I wish we were able to keep was Nick the Quick, Van Axel, and Eddie Jones.
That was a what if team too. That was a what if team. Eddie Jones, Nick Van Exel, Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal. Man, looking back on it, like how did they not win a title? At least get to the finals. Like, damn, with that team, Jesus.
Yeah, but who was coaching them at that point?
Dale Harris.
Was Dale Harris still there? Yeah, Dale Harris.
Yeah,
and that's
one of the instances where it's like
bigger than them.
Yeah,
it took somebody who had enough cachet to reel them in, because that's what Phil brought in. I mean, he brought the system, yes, but he had enough cachet to tell all of those egos, I'm bigger than all of y'all.
Right.
Like in terms of resume, championships, and everything, you got to be able to listen to a guy, and that's why Kobe had problems with Dale. He didn't have enough respect for him as a coach, where it was like,
I
thought that was a good one.
Yeah, that was.
But we can do a couple more of those.
What if teams? What if players? Yeah, no doubt.
What if episode? Yeah,
because you got an entire. I mean, you got an entire team of the what if guys. The what if all stars would have been. Yeah, you talking about another dream team in and of itself, with its own versions of Michael Jordans and Magic Johnson. So that would have been. It would have been something, man. What could have been had they been spared from injury? But, man.
I mean, so many different what ifs.
Yeah.
Barkley going to the Lakers, that's a whole nother form of what if.
Yeah, he was about to break my heart with that. I remember hearing about that news when that rumor had. I was like, he ain't coming to LA, man. Not to play with no damn Lakers.
Yeah.
Oh man, I couldn't. I mean, I would.
Wasn't rumored to come to the Lakers though.
No, but that was literally that was pretty much in the works. That was happening. Like, but I don't know what happened at the 12th hour where it fell apart. But he was coming to Lakers, man. I was. I guess I would have been a Laker fan sooner, but I wasn't ready for that. I was ready for Chuck to go anywhere but that. But it was a whole bunch of what ifs in the league that we could definitely. Well, there is a book about it. I forget the name of it. I was reading it. No, it was an ebook I was listening to, but. I forget the name. It was really interesting, but I got to plug that next time. I didn't even finish it, to be honest with you. So, but those are what ifs of the 90s,
man.
Good old 90s.
Good talk, yeah.
Yeah, that was real dope. That caught me off guard because
I didn't expect that one.
I knew it would. That's why I didn't let you guys know ahead of time what it would be.
I was just looking at a clip of T-Mac and who else they were showing clips of Penny Hardaway, and they were just showing them like, man, some of their like iconic games when they just went off, and they both had signature games like I'm here now. What?
Right.
Just unfortunate.
And the irony of this conversation, 2 of those players on the list played together, but by the time they got together, they were so little with injury that we never got the most out of that Grant Hill, Tracy McGrady. And could have been Grant Hill, Tracy McGrady, and Tim Duncan. Another great what if.
Wait a minute. Was I mistaken, or was Penny on the squad too for a minute? He was just riding the bench over there in Phoenix. Was he there late when Grant Hill was over there?
In Phoenix with them? If he was, he was probably.
Yeah,
most
definitely. Yeah.
By Phoenix, it was pretty much. If he picked, that ship had sailed long ago.
Grant Hill actually had some solid years. He with Phoenix.
He did. He was a great contributor with that Steve Nash team. Yeah, he was. Yeah,
great contributor. Yeah,
again, another what if team.
Another great
everything.
What-if.
Rajah Bell. You had Amari Stoudemire, Steve Nash. They had everything. Barbosa off the bench.
And that came down to some technical fouls because if Amari hadn't got them techs, I think Phoenix got past San Antonio that year. That's probably the most costly between that and the Warriors tech, Draymond's tech. I think those are probably the two most pivotal.
If we're gonna bring them in, do we really talk about the what if teams? Do we talk about the Clippers?
They could have been. The Clippers had a stretch there where they
had some talent, some young talent,
and something. I thought at least got to a level to compete.
Yeah, they were exciting and fun. I'm not sure if I bought into them being a real deal threat. Like, I thought they were fun.
They had
to watch.
A chance to get the Spurs. They just.
Well, I thought when they got Kawhi, like there was a year there where I was like, that this team would actually be good enough.
But Lob City
was just that. That was fun and exciting.
Fun, yeah.
But that 1 year with Kawhi, I wouldn't actually be shocked if they cracked that ceiling. But yeah. Something we'll have to cover on an upcoming episode for sure. For sure.
Yes.
For now, we'll wind this one down and bring it to its conclusion.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah, man, that was a good discussion.
Yeah, it was. We got to have more. Those what if and those more fun what ifs. Because, I don't like to play with what ifs like in a real debate, but like just out of fun, like they're fun to have because there are so many in the NBA and professional sports in general. You have them conversations forever, but there's a ton of fun ones.
Back good memories,
great memories.
Just being in those time frames.
Man, but we can do an entire
which is something else we're gonna have
show based on just basketball, the game in the '90s in general, like. That was
what we went through with the 90s. Standing in line at a Foot Locker to go get some shoes is a far gone conclusion than what it used to be.
Before having a hookup or having an app or having, you know what I mean? This is you had to wait in line like everybody else. There were no shortcuts to that.
Yeah. Shorts coming down to your ankles. I mean, we got some topics. Our experiences at the park. We'll have to bring it in for everybody. Well,
that or some good old eBay. I mean, not eBay. What is that? East Bay. I'm sorry. Remember that East Bay magazine that we relied heavily upon? That was. That was
everything. Getting that in the mail, man. Yeah. Ooh, just fantasizing about all the shit you want to get.
Circling everything. Yeah, that was a glorious time.
What a time to be alive. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget, like, subscribe, comment. Reed, where can they find us?
Of course, we can be found at our website, the Supreme Court Basketball.buzzsprout.com. That is, again, the Supreme Court Basketball, all spelled out, .buzzsprout.com. And we're also available on YouTube at Supreme Court Basketball. Please don't forget the @ symbol. Otherwise, you'll be led to another Supreme Court that has nothing to do with us or basketball. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and all the other places you get your podcast at. Just type in the Supreme Court Basketball Podcast. You should be able to find us pretty easily. And you can reach out to us via email, the Supreme Court Basketball @gmail.com. Again, that's the Supreme Court Basketball @gmail.com. Where you find us, man.
Yeah, come check out
Quiet Money if you want to support the cast.
Oh, definitely.
The pod and keep
love offerings are more than welcome.
Good content.
Yeah.
And
some great content, not just good.
Some more stuff. Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for joining us for another week. We'll see you guys next week on the Supreme Court Basketball Podcast. We out.
Look forward to it.
We out.